Former President of the United States, Donald Trump, is facing more than a 30-count charge related to business fraud as a result of his indictment by Manhattan grand jury. It's the first time in the U.S. history that a current or former president has been criminally charged. Mr. Trump is expected to appear in court on Tuesday for his arraignment. There is more in this report.
A New York grand jury has voted to indict former U.S. President Donald Trump on allegations linked to a business record investigation related to a secret money payment made to an adult film star, Stormy Daniels. Donald Trump is the first former U.S. president in history to face criminal charges. His attorney, Susan Nicholas, confirmed the indictment. No other details have been released to the public so far. The secret charge or charges have not also been made public. The case stems from a payment made just days before Mr. Trump was elected president in 2016. His former attorney, Michael Cohen, arranged a $130,000 wire transfer to Stormy Daniels to buy her silence about an alleged affair. Mr. Trump has also accused the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, of conducting what he calls political witch hunt. On the 13th of March, with the grand jury nearing its indictment, Mr. Trump's attorney, Joseph Tacopina, said he believes the case has absolutely no legal merit. Criminal defense attorney Vino Vahesi comments on what he thinks the indictment entails.
So if he chooses to fight extradition, there'll be a trial judge who will hear the arguments for or against extradition. Then if the Trump camp is fighting it, then it'll go to an appellate court. And then it'll go to the highest court in Florida. From a legal perspective, there's really no basis to not be extradited if he chooses to fight. For Trump, the smart thing from a legal perspective is to voluntarily surrender. And then that means he shows up at 100 Center Street, a couple minutes walk from here, and he gets processed. He'll get printed, fingerprinted, and brought to court. Perhaps they'll give him the courtesy of not handcuffing him. I'm not sure, or they will put him in handcuffs. I know he wants to go in handcuffs.
A Manhattan grand jury voted to indict former President Donald Trump on Thursday evening. His supporters stood outside Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, standing in support of the former president after the indictment.
It's an outrage. It's an outrage to the three of us. An indictment against Donald Trump for an event that occurred 7-8 years ago in an agreement between two adults. Why? What for? What is the point to prove it? They don't want the man to even make it to Election Day because they're afraid he's going to win with a landslide, and I believe he will. You go to upstate New York, it's all people that are outraged by what's happened today. You go west out to Lake Okeechobee, people are distressed.
Americans who are against the said act are not holding back their support for his prosecution.
I felt a mix of satisfaction and almost anticipation, because this is only the first step, I think, in what will be a long process in holding him accountable.
What brings me out here is the historic news that Trump was indicted.
What was your reaction when you heard?
Some relieved.
Let's talk this through by speaking on the issues surrounding President Donald Trump. Joining us from Washington, D.C. for more on this development is a global affairs analyst, Sam Fati. Another global affairs analyst, Kunle Falowo, joined me from the U.S. state of Indianapolis. Thank you so much for joining us on World Now. Let me start with you, Mr. Falowo. Donald Trump is the first serving or former U.S. president to face a criminal charge. How big are Mr. Trump's legal problems?
Oh, thanks for having me. So definitely, Mr. Trump has a humongous amount of legal tussle with different uh, districts, not just New York, different parts of the country where he conducted business, and he's had a lot of problems. Notwithstanding, we have to remember that Mr. Trump was well, it still continues to be a businessman before he ventured into politics and before he became, former president. He had been accused of so many shady deals or allegations of shady deals in the past, and one way or the other, he's been able to go scot-free. Uh, he's been able to kind of defend himself successfully. But this one is not going away real quick, and this one is particularly very different from the others. It has to do with violations of election and donation constitution. When you look at the amount of money that was paid to the porn star and adult film star, and how they went about the entire process. He was literally, along his legal team, was lying. It was lying on the oath, and that's where the problem comes from. Of course, there are so many legal implications to it, but the long term goal for Mr. Trump is to come back and fight for this and go to becoming the next president of the United States. Now, that is a far fetched goal because his reputation will be attacked by this, and in regular pattern of Mr. Trump, he will fight back, and that's what we're looking to see.
Sam in Washington, Mr. Trump is also being investigated in several other cases, which include probes into his role in the U.S. Capitol riot of January 2021, his efforts to overturn his loss in the state of Georgia in 2020 election, and his handling of a classified document after leaving office. What does this say about the person of Donald Trump?
Look, I believe Donald Trump being indicted in New York over his situation and the husbandly situation with Stormy Daniels is one thing. However, the Republicans are going to rally behind him. We have seen that in the statement that the House Speaker Kevin has released, and it will be seen as a political witch hunt by the Democrats. Remember, the Attorney General did run for office as a Democrat on the pledge that he would have Donald Trump indicted. So they would see it as a political witch hunt. Now, having a felony or a conviction doesn't necessarily completely bar one in the United States from running for president. Trump could use that and leverage it to run for president. And this is what the Republicans are doing. It's going to be a legal fight, it's going to be a battle. But one thing, the grand jury indictment is one thing. But actually having a jury indict Trump is going to be another thing, especially.
Sam, I'm afraid we lost the audio. But
regarding the January 6th riot, that is the most powerful one that can probably end Trump's political career and his ambitions, because that is the biggest trouble he can face trying to overturn a democratic election in the United States. Now, if they can get him on that, that's a different story. In all, when it comes to his politics, it's going to be very difficult for him to be in office. But knowing Trump, it's not the negative stories and the bad press release and his credibility that is going to stop him from going into from running for office. He may use it as a platform to run for office. They have started doing that, and that is why the Republicans and his attorney and everybody else within this camp is calling this a political witch hunt, and he is going to use it to rally his supporters, and they are extremely leftist.
So, Mr. Kunle, covering up a crime by falsifying records would be a felony, which is more serious charge. Even advocate for prosecution acknowledge that either way, this is by no means a clear-cut case. But the question is, what will happen when Mr. Trump is arrested?
Well, to be frank with you, nothing actually happens. This particular indictment is considered a misdemeanor, and it wouldn't really go far as reputational damage. Let's remind our viewers and listeners across the world that Mr. Trump um, um, thrives on negative news. He used that and rallies around his people. And it's interesting to know also that Mr. Trump has been calling for protests, nationwide protests, in response to this indictment. And he's also been having people donate for these alleged persecutorial excesses by the New York District Attorney. So he is constantly making money off of these allegations and off of these cases. People are constantly and continually the diehard fans of Mr. Trump are continuing to pour money into the campaign box. So having said that, this is just one of those stories that Mr. Trump with his team shakes around and reshapes and feed it to the audience. Notwithstanding, he's going to possibly see a uphill battle as far as clinching the ticket to become the next president under the Republican Party. There's another person that's actually has been gaining a lot of audience and attention in the national politics in person of the Florida's governor, Ron DeSantis. He's been really right in the middle. He is not seen as more of an extreme person as Mr. Trump. Of course, he's a right-wing governor who is very conservative in nature and politics, but that is also another contending part that Mr. Trump and his team members have to deal with. But as far as this indictment is concerned, it will go in, take mug shots, owing to the fact of his statute as the former president of the United States. It wouldn't be business as usual. It would be treated with a lot of dignity and respect and also fanfare. So it is not as terrible as it appears to be. It might possibly become poses as a slight dent to his reputation,
Right.
but on the long run, it wouldn't really affect him any shape or form.
Well, Sam, Mr. Trump is currently the front runner among all declared and potential contenders for the Republican White House nomination. So how do you think this would impact Mr. Trump's ambition to run for president in 2024?
Look, I believe it's hard to tell, but one thing is clear is that he has the Republican support, and he is going to use this to garner as much support as possible. Let's be very, very clear on that. Let nobody have second thought about that. I mean, mind you, he's not even going to get arrested. He has already made arrangements to surrender himself and to show up in court, and then he'll be arraigned, right? So they've already made that arrangement. He's not going to, one would have expected Trump to find extradition, and it's probably Florida, and all the reports that are coming out is indicating that he was shocked that he was indicted. So he's not going to take chances on fighting an extradition and then lose an extradition battle because there's no ground not to have him extradited. So he's going to play his game very, very well. And the way he's going to do that is to surrender himself, which he agreed to do. He's going to surrender himself, but he'll be treated with the highest respect and dignity. Of course, it's not going to be the usual criminal prosecution. We're talking about a former president of the United States. The most important thing here, from an academic point of view, is this is unprecedented. What are going to be the lessons that are going to be learned here? But this is in no way going to stop Trump from trying to run for president or winning the Republican ticket, knowing currently the kind of Republicans we have in Congress, and knowing certain his power in some of the South states, he is going to win. In Indiana, for example, of course, Mike Pence, he has so much power over there. He was a former governor. He was Trump's vice president, and he made it very clear. Mike Pence said this is a political witch hunt. The story is going to burn. That's the slogan that they are going to use, so it's not going to stop him from seeking office. Now, how this is going to turn out, will it give him the win for the ticket in the primary? If he wins the primary, then Joe Biden should know that seeking a second term, even under the circumstances for Trump, it's not going to be an easy one.
Well, very quickly, Kunle, before I let you both go, Some believes that that's a political witch hunt, and Mr. Trump himself has repeatedly slammed the investigation in his hometown, New York, as political witch hunts. Do you also subscribe to that, position by Donald Trump as well as Sam's?
Well, it's very simple. It has to be said and it has to be seen that no one, absolutely no one, regardless of your political office or your reputation in the country, is above the law. And that is a clear statement coming from the United States Constitution. Everyone needs to be held accountable for whatever it is that they've done. Now, if you're falsifying documents, regardless of you being a former president or not, you should be answerable to the courts and to the jury. Having said that, we need to remember real quickly that Mr. Trump's popularity within the conservative vis-a-vis Republican Party has been seen to be dwindling. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because when you go back to the midterms, you would see that all of the guys that came out to contest and endorsed the big lie of election stealing and rigging of the election by the Democrats that had that ushered in President Joe Biden as the winner of the election. All of the deniers of the election, majority of them lost in the midterms. Now that is a clear signal that the base of the Republican Party is starting to see a policy shift in the decision and the way that they want to go about their party, which is kind of like in disarray right now, but we're starting to see a certain pattern of dwindling in the popularity of former President Trump.
Well, this is a developing story. We'll continue to monitor events as they continue to unfold. From Washington, D.C., has been a global affairs analyst, Sam Fati, and also global affairs analyst Kunle Falowo, who joined us from the United States of Indianapolis. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your keenness of insight.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.